The Loud House is now the most popular kids animated show on Nickelodeon. If you are a fan, you have probably watched all the episodes, but there are still many things that you do not know. Just wait until you see why mothers started a petition against the sitcom after Luna did something they thought was inappropriate. If you love The Loud House as much as we do, don't forget to subscribe and please give this video a big thumbs up. Today, we are showing you 10 dark secrets in The Loud House Nickelodeon Tried to hide. The gay couple. In one of the episodes of the sitcom Overnight Success, we discovered that Clyde had two fathers of different colors, Harold and Howard. It was the first Nickelodeon show in history to feature a married, same-sex couple, and just because we love diversity, we were happy to see that one of them was white and the other was black, and it didn't make any difference. However, many people didn't agree that it was a good idea to represent the LGBT community in a kids show. 1 Million Moms is probably the group that reacted the most to this. When they heard that the creators of The Loud House wanted to feature a family with two dads on the animated show, they immediately took action. They said that Nickelodeon should stick to entertaining instead of pushing an agenda, and provide a family-friendly programming instead of being politically correct. And we think that the channel should actually be family-friendly. But the best way to do it is by showing a lot of different families, including gay couples. It doesn't make the show less entertaining, and it also gives a chance to some kids to be more comfortable talking about their two dads. The only thing that will happen is that they will learn that love is love. We think that the characters of The Loud House made a great decision by giving us the chance to meet these two funny dads in this episode. The rabbits. Did you know that the characters of The Loud House used to be a big family of rabbits? This is one of the ideas that the creator Chris Savino presented to the producers. Chris thought it was a funny idea because rabbits multiply. However, it was just chaotic to work with so many different animal characters. Producers love the big family, but Jenna Boyd, the executive in development, suggested that he should work on humans instead because he would have more chances to get it sold. Chris really wanted to work on animals, but the more he thought about it, the more he realized that a family of humans was the right way to go. This is why he created only 10 sisters instead of 25 to make it more realistic. Then he redesigned some of his rabbit characters and turned them into young boys and girls. This is how everything fell into place, but there are still some rabbit traits left in the designs. This is the reason why Lincoln has white hair and why some characters have buck teeth. We are really happy to see that Chris changed his mind because the Loud family is now much more relatable. But no matter what, the creator loves to make fun of his weird original idea. If he didn't listen to Jenna, he wouldn't be where he is today. The adoption. With a lot of fans come a lot of fan theories, and one of the most popular is that Lincoln was adopted. The Loud parents always wanted a son, but they always had daughters. This is why they kept trying over and over again. One day they realized that the only way they could have a son would be by adopting him, and this is how Lincoln became part of the family. That would explain why this character doesn't look like any of his sisters. Most of them have blonde or brown hair, except Lucy, who probably dyed it. Yes, Lincoln might look like Pop Pop, but his hair turned white from age. Moreover, in the ties that bind, the mother said that she had 10 kids, not 11, meaning that she probably didn't give birth to one of them. The father then replied he should throw out the white one because he didn't think that it was his. We finally found out that he was talking about ties. But it could still be a hint that Lincoln wasn't always part of the family. Some people also argue that Lucy is actually the one who was adopted because she looks really different than her other siblings with her black hair, pale skin, and personality. No matter what, we think that we shouldn't ask too many questions and just enjoy the show like it is. No matter who is adopted, they are still part of the Loud family. The names. It seems like the Loud parents wanted to make sure they remember the name of their 10 daughters because they all start with the letter L and have 4 letters. Lincoln is the only exception with 7 letters in his name. But where does this idea come from? You'll be surprised to know that Chris was inspired by his own life. When they were rabbits, all the names started with the letter B because the creator thought that it had many female-sounding names. When he narrowed it down to 10 sisters, he remembered that his own sisters' names all start with the letter L and have 4 letters. This is where the names Lori, Lisa, Lynn, Luann, and Lana came from. Yes, Chris had that many sisters, but he is still missing 6 names. This was when he thought about other 4-letter L names that he always knew. His wiener dog was named Lola, and his mother-in-law's dog was named Luna. Lily and Lucy were 2 names that he and his wife thought about when they wanted a baby. Then Lenny was based on the character Lenny from Of Mice and Men, and he just changed the spelling to make it more girly. The only thing missing was the name of the boy. This one was actually inspired by the name of the street his family used to live on. And if you were ever wondering, no, their names don't make the personalities of the characters. The script. Many people have been wondering if the sitcom was scripted or not. After all, some voice actors like to improvise, and that's what makes some TV shows really fun. But this time, The Loud House is mostly scripted with a little bit of freedom. The problem is that if they knew that the story focused on 2 characters, storyboard artists would only focus on these 2 and forget about the other 9 characters in the household. This is why the creators had to write a script. They wanted to make sure that all the characters were present in the show, and to give them equal screen time and their equal say and equal existence in every episode. They needed the show to be scripted. However, even if they write 95% of the script, there is still a tiny room for the artist to discover new things. For example, they can see that the character is standing here, and it would be fun to see how they react. They also have to fill in the holes and make things funnier sometimes. This is why the storyboard artists have the freedom to embellish the script a little bit. So don't think that it's easy to be funny. Many people are actually working really hard to make sure that every word is the best, and so you'll laugh at every punchline. Not a lot of shows have the power to make us laugh as much as The Loud House. The Down syndrome. We know that the characters of The Loud House love the show diversity on screen. But it's not only about who you love, it's also about who you are. In The Loudest Mission, Relative Chaos, the sitcom introduced a minor character named Carlos Jr., who has Down syndrome. Even though he was in his teen years, CJ loved to play children's games and easily befriend any person. No matter how childish he was, we think that it just made him a funny and lovable character. Most people didn't understand why he was acting a bit weird until we realized that he actually had Down syndrome, and that's how we learned to better understand him, even though he was different. Some people criticize that the creators made a disabled character look stupid, but that's not what they intended at all. They just wanted a different character to have a chance to appear on television. Chris Savino said that the whole notion of having a character with a disability came up because they knew it's not the disability that makes the character. He knew someone with Down syndrome growing up in his neighborhood, and he wanted to make sure that he was represented because he was there in his life, and we think that Chris actually had a great idea. The only thing missing is that we wish that we could see Carlos more often in the following episodes. The newspaper comics. Before working on animated series, Chris Savino used to love newspaper comics. When he was young, he used to draw the eyes, the noses, and the other traits of the characters he saw and mix them together to create his own characters. That was the thing he wanted to do, have his own comic strip. He didn't even realize he could do this job, and that there were even schools that would teach him how to do that. So he just worked on his own. Now that Chris is working on his own TV show, he is still reading comics, but he knows that he probably won't be selling one. The Loud House is kind of a love letter to comic strips. For example, the story is focused on characters, and the camera doesn't move a lot, as you can see it in comics. As he said himself, it's become kind of a mantra on the show. The camera is not funny, the characters are funny. This is also what makes it easier to animate the 11 siblings because they don't have to use too many camera angles. Moreover, you can see the comics aesthetic and the limited color palette and the texture of the background. They yellowed the paper to make it seem like a really old comic, and this warmed up the scenes and tied the colors together in a way that the creators didn't expect. And this is how Savino created this unique style. The transgender girl. We read about other fan theories, and this is probably one of the weirdest ones that we ever heard. Some people think that one of the girls was actually born a boy. Can you guess who it is? It's Lynn, and fans have many reasons to believe that she is transgender. The name Lynn is unisex, so she wouldn't even have to change it if she wanted to identify herself as a woman. She was named after her father, Lynn Sr. But isn't it kind of weird for a girl to be Lynn Jr.? Moreover, she acts more like a boy than any of her sisters. She is more into sports than anyone we've ever seen, and she's also more competitive. She also didn't hit puberty yet, which could mean that she might be on puberty blockers to look like a girl for as long as she can. And her hand-me-down to Lincoln was a jockstrap, which is actually worn by boys. We have to admit, with all this evidence, this theory could make sense. After all, the creators of The Loud House always supported the LGBT community, so it wouldn't be too surprising for one of the girls to be born male. But no matter what, it will stay a theory until the creators of the show themselves say it's true. And if Lynn wants to be a woman, we will treat her like the young woman she is. The inspiration. We already know that Chris Savino was born in a big family, so it's not surprising to learn that his siblings inspired him when writing The Loud House. The creator of the show had 4 brothers and 5 sisters, making them 10 kids in total. However, he didn't realize the connection when he was working on the family of rabbits. It's not until he turned them into humans siblings and created 10 sisters that he understood that he was inspired by his own big family. But The Loud House isn't autobiographical. It's just that many of his ideas come from experience, and he is not the only one. The other writers and artists working on the project also had siblings and talked about things that happened to them when they were kids. We might think that Chris's brothers and sisters didn't like to see themselves in the sitcom, but not at all. They were actually really proud of their sibling and were flattered that their names were synonymous with the cartoon now. Anyway, Chris said that he never really pulled from anything that they have done and applied it directly to a sibling. They all have a sense of humor and they can laugh at everything, so they are not taking anything personally. We think that this is what makes the Savino family even better than the one we see on television. Humor is the best thing to keep a family together. The secret crush. We know the creators of The Loud House support the LGBT community, and Clyde's fathers are not the only ones who are a little different when it comes to love. We found out that one of the siblings is into girls too, and it's Luna, as we could see it in L is for Love. In this episode, we saw her giving a love letter to a girl named Sam. You might think that she's a lesbian, but that would probably make her bisexual, pansexual, or queer, as she had a crush on a boy in another episode. And no matter who she's dating, we think that all that matters is that Luna is happy. Chris Savino even said that we would see Sam again in another episode. Unfortunately, the group of 1 Million Moms was once again upset by this topic. They didn't like this show because families tuning in to watch a children's network may encounter a premature discussion on sexual orientation, which they considered unnecessary. They don't think that Nickelodeon should talk about controversial topics. But what do you think? Should we show more diversity on television to let kids learn about the LGBT community in a positive way? Or do you think that it's inappropriate for children to watch this? Don't be shy to tell us what you think in the comment section down below. We'd love to know what you think. And that's it for 10 dark secrets in The Loud House Nickelodeon tried to hide. For more stories like this, make sure you watch 10 mistakes in The Loud House you might have missed. Thanks for watching.